Is it visible for all of you?
Yes, JP.
Yes.
Okay, let's change the company back to MRF. So let's discuss about the accounts receivable parameters first and then back to the tax module. Accounts receivable. Under setup, I have accounts receivable parameters. So we have been there in quite a few times. So like in every module, in the same way, it will be always under setup, the parameters will be. So, parameters are those general controls we give, or the option that normally controls the various activities in the particular module. So in accounts receivable, coming to accounts receivable module, we have quite more parameters comparatively because there are few other modules that are associated to accounts receivable module. Most of them will not opt for all the modules to work on. So we have sales and marketing module where we have these customer agreements, customer trade agreements, customer discount agreements, and then the sales quotations, everything in sales and marketing module. Next, after that, you have this accounts receivable module wherein the further actions will be done. Creation of sales orders, invoicing, and after invoicing, the collection and the payments and all that will be in accounts receivable module. So parallelly to this module, we also have this retail module. So the industry of retail is separate again. So customers will be there also in retail module. But here the retail modules will come into place. In the normal business where retail is not involved, we don't have retail modules prominence or it's not required. But in a retail industry, again, there will be separately consultants for retail module. So which is a interlinked to the accounts receivable module. So whatever the actions that are done on retail, so that will be categorized under retail, but the final outcome is an invoice for the customer, right? When you sell goods and when you receive amount, it will be a payment transaction. So that will be there in accounts receivable module again. But the source of entry or the transaction will come mostly from the retail module. So there will be kind of integrations to retail module too. So through that, normally the transactions will be pushed into Dynamics. So there will be vast transactions on daily basis in retail industry compared to other industries. So other than retail module, we have credit and collections module also associated to accounts receivable module, which we have seen in the previous class. So which mostly deals with the collection process of the pending balances from the customers and how to deal with the collections, how to send collection letters and also charge interest on the delay in the pending amounts from the customers. So that all details will be there in collections module. So recently there is a new feature, as I told you, which is called credit management, which was there previously, but recently it has got good enhancements, which can be used for managing the credit for the customers, how much credit can be allocated, how customers can be blocked. So that will be handled with credit management. So that's also there in credit and collections module only. So various features or various parameters which are interlinked to all those modules are normally here in this accounts receivable parameters. We will mostly discuss about those which are related to the finance side and specific to the accounts receivable module and see how it was like. So to start with, we have this general module. I mean the general menu where we can give this one-time customer account. We have discussed this one-time customer already. We can give that default one-time customer account which we have created for the sake of the dummy customer for which we normally do one-time trade. So you can give that customer account. You can keep a minimum reimbursement amount. Minimum reimbursement amount means if there is any excess payment by the customer, normally will return their money, right? Or if there is any pending advance payments from the customers on which we could not fulfill the orders, we usually return those money to the customers. But in this case, that's what called as reimbursement normally. So what should be the minimum reimbursement amount? It is what you are giving to system as an indication. So if it is at least $10, we will return that money to the customer. If it is less than $10, we don't usually return it or we don't want to return it because it's a minimum amount. So that's what you are maintaining here. What should be the minimum reimbursement amount for the customers if at all we have to return it to the customers. Then we have tax exempt number requirement. Is it a mandatory tax exempt number requirement for creation of customer accounts? If at all it is, so for which particular customers it is required, domestic plus EU or EU members only. So mostly the trade that is done in the European Union does have this tax exempt numbers. So whenever you create a customer account, you have to definitely give a tax exempt number if you select one of these options, EU. But it's not required usually in other countries, other than if it is not a European Union country or a customer falling into European Union. So you can also give mandatory tax group, means whenever you create a customer account, you should give a default tax group in the mandatory tax group field or the sales tax group field that you find under customer master. So it's not mandatory. You can give any default one. That's not a problem. Without giving this as mandatory also, you can give a default one. But if you give it as mandatory, means whenever you create a customer record or edit the existing customer record, you should save it by giving the default tax code. Definitely, without default tax code, it doesn't work again. So that's one. Then this sales values and sales setup and sales quotations, mostly all this will fall into the sales and marketing module only, not related to accounts receivable. However, there are something that are associated to orders, so you can once go through them in case if you want to. But here you have this one, sales quotation. We have created sales quotation right earlier in the sales and marketing module. So for that quotation, we can give the number of days of the campaign. So normally campaign means offer here. So if we create a sales quotation or send it to a customer, so until how many days that offer will be existing for that particular customer, you can give that here. So it says 30 days. 30 days is a default here. Like for 1 month, you have that offer for the customer. After 30 days, it will get expired. So if the customer reach out to you after 30 days, you can say that we don't have the same offer. So the offer validity has expired and we have a different offer now. Or you can say we have the same offer, you can buy it the same. So number of days before follow-up, actually, if the offer is expiring in 30 days, on 28th day you can follow up or 27th day you can follow up. We have this days before follow-up as 2 days. You'll follow up the customer saying that we have sent you a quotation on which we have given so and so offer. So this is a follow-up since the offer is expiring in 2 days. You can follow up like that. So it's also mostly for sales and marketing team only. These kind of activities are normally dealt by the sales and marketing team. That configurations are normally into the supply chain modules, not into finance. And we have reason code requirements. Here you see required reason code for payment cancellations. In case if you are canceling any payments on the customer menu, then you should definitely require a reason code so that you can give here. If it is enabled as yes, so if at all you are canceling a deposit slip in that cash and bank management module also, this particular parameter will stop you for giving a appropriate reason code for cancellation of that customer payment. So then require reason code for written orders in case if you're creating any written orders. So you should give a proper reason code while you're creating a written order. So then require reason code for transaction reversals. In case if you're reversing any transaction on the customer transaction page like free text invoices or any other transaction, so it definitely asks you for a reverse reason code for the transaction reversal. That's here. So other than this, in under updates, I have this is for accept over delivery and under delivery. So this is normally for the sales order lines when you are delivering the goods, so you can deliver more or you can deliver less. So that accept under delivery and over delivery and under delivery details are here. So you can give this parameter. And this is all for picking list, which is again into the supply chain. But for packing slip, we have here post packing slip in ledger, which is one important parameter which helps in posting this particular voucher into the general ledger. Once after you post any packing slip, the delivery or accrual voucher will be posted into general ledger when you enable this parameter. Coming to invoice, here you have default settlement type for credit notes, Do you want the credit notes to automatically get settled to any open transactions or any other designated transactions like the actual invoice of the credit note? It's up to you. Or if you leave it as none, credit note will be created and saved in customer transactions. Later you can go to customer transactions page and settle it with any open invoice or any other payment reversal transaction, or any if you have any refund transaction posted, you can settle that credit note with that refund transaction. It's up to you with this one. Tax exempt number requirement. So the one that we see in the general menu for tax exempt number requirement, that is for creation of customers. This tax exempt number requirement is for invoices. In case if you are creating any invoice, so if the on which particular invoices tax exempt number is requirement. So it's not required if you would say, or you can say that for customers who are belonging to European Union, if you are doing any invoices with them, tax exempt number is required. Or if the customers who are domestic plus European Union, regardless of if he is into European Union or outside, tax exempt number is required. You can say that. So on every invoice, it asks for a compulsory field to be filled in for tax exempt number. If you say it as none, mostly it will be none until and unless your client is located in Europe and mostly the invoices dealt are related to European Union, then you will definitely have these tax exemption numbers in place for every customer or vendor. Definitely. Otherwise, it will be set to no only. Delete order line invoiced in total. So select this option to delete sales order lines that are fully invoiced. If you select the marked order as voided, the option into the general area and you select this option, fully invoiced sales order lines are not deleted but are instead marked as voided. So where is this? If it's mark order as voided, so we have that option mark order as voided in order. So actually, if you select this parameter, what happens is it will delete the order lines once after invoicing. If sales order have 4 lines and if you have invoiced all the 4 lines, it will delete the 4 lines from the sales order and the sales order looks empty. Order shows as invoiced, but it will show as empty. Or if you invoiced only 2 lines will get deleted and other 2 lines will remain and order will still show as received because you only invoiced 2 lines. It's like that. Normally none of them will opt for deletion of sales order lines once after invoicing, right? Why do we have to delete any lines once we invoiced it? It's not required. If you delete invoice sales order lines, then you don't have a proof that what was the initially created order and all. So that's why you don't delete them. So delete order after invoicing. It will directly delete the sales order automatically after invoicing. This one, if you enable this parameter. Once invoiced, the sales order also will get deleted and which would eventually lose a one original document for a transaction that we have done. Invoice will be there, but sales order will not exist. That's what, but we don't want a sales order to be deleted. It's not a good practice though. Automatic reduction invoice is something we are not sure about this. Neither of them use these options. Use exchange rate from source document. So select this option to use exchange rate from the designated transactions when the sales order is posted. All exchange rates for the designated transactions must be identical. Option to use the exchange rate from the designated transactions and sales order is posted. So normally source documents are the sales order. Source document itself means a sales order, but it was saying that it used the exchange rate from the designated transactions. Designated transactions means, according to me, so suppose if I am using this exchange rate from particular sales order, say sales order was created on 1st of November, let's assume. You are posting a packing slip on 5th of November. So system will consider the exchange rate from 5th of November date because we are posting the packing slip on 5th of November. Suppose if it is a foreign currency trade. And if you're posting another packing slip on 7th of November, it will consider the exchange rate from 7th of November normally. So for 2 packing slips, you have 2 different exchange rates. And again, when you do invoice, you will get the exchange rate for the invoice date. So what this particular parameter does is you can give an exchange rate on the source document, which means the sales order. So once given an exchange rate on the sales order, how many ever times you do any transaction on the sales order, it will pick that particular exchange rate or that fixed exchange rate from the sales order. Header level, you can give this exchange rate option. So when you do any packing slip or when you post any packing slip or multiple packing slip for different dates, so but it will take the exchange rate or consider the exchange rate from the sales order header, according to me. So this will keep a unique exchange rate available on a sales order, and that will be used for all the transactions that are posted on the sales order. Also, I think it will also take for the invoices too. If at all there are multiple invoices though, but the exchange rate will be considered from the sales order document itself. If we don't select this parameter, normally it will select the exchange rate according to the posting date of each transaction. If it is a packing slip or if it is an invoice, to whatever date you are posting it, it will select that particular exchange rate. So credit note as correction is one option I have. So we know this feature already we have discussed in accounts payable parameters. If I use this credit note as correction, normally when we do post a credit note, we have this debit in credit and credit in debit, right? So if you use credit note as a correction, debit will be in debit only, credit will be in credit only, but it will post the negative numbers. So not most of them will prefer to have negative numbers in accounting because negative numbers are not the actual numbers. However, the financial impacts will be the same. If you minus the debit value or if you credit the same value, both our impacts will be same actually. But debits and credits is the normal accounting pattern we maintain rather than maintaining the negative numbers or decreasing the value with a negative number. So that's what we have this option, print packing material weight. If any weight is associated to any packing material, we can print it. So it will normally gets printed on any other documents. Then number of documents in batch task it is asking actually. So in a single batch, how many number of documents can be posted or how many invoices can be posted, like that you can give a maximum number. So by default, it is taking a minimum number of 5. Suppose if you are running a batch of for invoice posting, you can select like 30 to 50 invoices or 50 you can say, so that 50 invoices will be posted at a time. If you select 10 and if you have 50 invoices to be posted, it will run the batch 5 times. So for every one time, or 10 invoices will be posted, like for 5 times 50 invoices will be posted. You can select any number. There should be a limit for it actually, but still I think there is big limit for it too. There won't be so many invoices in a one particular job. If at all you have to post also. Other than this, we have this project, which is mostly related to project accounting. We don't have any projects enabled. Summary update. So it's again for the retail module. The shipment summary are for I think retail and sales and marketing modules. This one. Not sales and marketing too. This is mostly related to this collection, foreign trade and invoice. So this lading details on the shipments. Actually, there is a new module currently for the goods that are in transit as well as that will travel a long way from the ship or airways, which involves this transportation, maintenance, and insurance and all. For that, we have this lading module, lading cost, which was recently introduced in Dynamics. So something we have is ledger and sales tax, which is related to finance again, where we have to assign a posting profile, normal posting profile, which we create where the accounts receivable account is given. We have to give it as a general posting profile. So for the primary sales posting, consumption transactions or discount posting, for most of these transactions, the accounts will be picked from item. So mostly the accounts will be picked from item and it is a default selection. So for every item, we have this item group involved, right? Or linked to it, wherein we have given accounts for all the transactions that we do for payables and receivables. So mostly on the receivable side, if at all you are posting any transactions, other than the accounts receivable account, remaining any account that you have will mostly be picked from item itself directly. Because from the item group only, it will automatically take the accounts, right? So it will be given as item only here. Then we have default dimension hierarchy. So how the default dimension hierarchy has to be picked. Default dimension hierarchy means, see, for customer record, whenever you create a customer, you can give default dimension, right? Whenever you create an item, for item also you can give default dimensions. Or we also have catalogs, or we can also call them as categories, kind of services. So for them also you can give default dimensions. So in that case, if at all a order includes both an item and customer, right, sales order, so which particular default dimension system have to pick? Does it have to prioritize the dimension on the item, or does it have to prioritize the dimensions on the customer record? So it says follow this hierarchy. If there are any dimensions on the item, first take the default dimensions from the item. First consider the default dimension from the item. If there are no dimensions on the item, then consider the default dimensions given on the customer master record. Okay, system will automatically consider those dimensions and populate them into the voucher. Once we post any transaction, voucher will be filled up with those financial dimensions mentioned on the customer record. If on the customer also it's not there, if it is involving any catalog or a category, service related category, then dimensions will be picked from that. So in this dimension it goes. There is an item master. If you have default financial dimensions, system will pick it from there itself, and it will not consider these dimensions on these records again. So you can change this hierarchy also, item first or customer first or catalog first. You can all the combinations you have here, 6 combinations. You can select from one combination. By default, it will be item, customer, and catalog only, and most of them will follow the same hierarchy for the dimensions. Enable date of VAT register changing. In case if there is any change in the VAT register or the percentages of VAT, so you can give that date. Normally that date can be updated in the tax module. So that can also be updated here. I mean on the, I think it's related to the invoicing process. Enable dates of VAT register changing. So that can be enabled. Then mandatory item tax groups on free text invoices. In free text invoices, if there are any mandatory item tax groups, you can keep as yes. And most of the times when you are doing free text invoice, it will ask for the item tax group to be selected. So we have sales tax group and item sales tax group. So if you give both of them, then only tax will be calculated. So if there is a mandatory item sales tax group, if you given here, whenever you are posting any free text invoice, you should definitely select the item sales tax group. So that's according to this parameter. If you say it as no, it's not mandatory. You can post invoices without selecting the item sales tax group also. So that's this one. And we have number of characters for zero account for payment. So this is mostly related to European Union only again. So you can give how many number of characters for the zero account. So these zero accounts are a procedures for payments actually related to the customer. So you see here, indicate how much of the payment ID is reserved for the zero account number. Use this parameter for reading files from the zero bank. The code is composed of a customer account and a voucher number. After the field, the system show how the 15 available positions are used in representing the account number and the voucher number. So it is saying that you can give a customer number and the voucher number. So combinedly, it will exchange the alphabets and give you a separate zero account number for that customer payment or payment reference kind of thing for each transaction. And all the time it will use that combination of alphabets that you enter. That's what it mean to say here. Then we have sales tax and prepayment journals. In case if you're collecting any prepayments or advance payment from the customers, are you also calculating sales tax on those prepayments? In some particular countries, that is mandatory that sales tax has to be calculated on advance payments. Suppose if you are collecting any amount from the customer, you will collect certain sales tax on that particular advance payment as well. So relating to which particular trade you are taking that advance payment, you will also calculate that percentage of tax amount and you will collect it, so that even though if you don't make any trade, you have to pay the tax to the authority on that advance payment you have received from the customer. So it's mostly prominent in European Union. Mostly in Kuwait, you have this prepayments on sales, prepayments, taxes on prepayment journals. And for prepayment, we are using this option, right? Prepayment posting profile, through which the prepayment account will be automatically picked whenever you change the posting profile, or when you in the payment transaction, when you give it as a prepayment, automatically the general posting profile will change to prepayment posting profile. Then warn if payment proposal uses multiple methods of payment. In case if you are using payment proposal for customer payments, and if it is involved with multiple methods of payments like check, cash, and UPI and all, if it is more than one, so it will give you a warning saying that there are multiple payment methods used in this particular proposal. If it is single, it doesn't really give you any warning. It's not required to, obviously, but in case if there were lot of transactions, like hundreds of invoices pending, and if you run the proposal, then you might be confused about how many methods of payment are involved, or do they have another method of payment other than one. So in that case, it will normally give you a warning or a message saying that multiple method of payments are involved in this particular payment or in this proposal usually. So that would be all important. Other than this, we have settlement. In settlement, we have this option of automatic settlement. If we enable this, normally the invoices, open invoice transactions will be automatically settled with the open payment transaction. Suppose let's assume that there is an invoice pending of $1,000 for a customer. And if customer made a payment of something, some amount, let's assume anything near to 1,000 or 1,000. So that will automatically get settled with the open invoice without you being automatically settling it during the customer payment or going to the customer page and settling it. Once you post the payment transaction, it will automatically settle. So that's what automatic settlement method all works. So if you post a credit note also, it will automatically settle to the open invoice. So it will choose that which invoice has to be settled according to the date, which was open for a long time. It will get settled to that particular invoice. And in that case, if you are using automatic settlements, or even though if you are using automatic settlements, in that case, how this cash discount has to be calculated. You have two methods again, unspecific and specific. If it is specific means it will normally calculate the cash discount according to the cash discount code. So the main account that is given in the cash discount code will be considered for posting the cash discount. If it is unspecific, normally it will select various ways of calculating the discount. So it will go for the account in the automatic transactions. It will use that account for posting the cash discount mostly. You can also give maximum penny difference and in payments. Suppose if the invoice was for $1,000 and the payment that you have received is only for 999.90. $10 difference is there. So do you want to settle such kind of transactions? Sorry, 10 cents of difference, right? So if you want to settle such, it will settle automatic. Or if I say $10, I only received 990 payment from the customer. So even though it is 990, it will settle to the invoice of 100 because I gave a penny difference here. So like up to $10. If there is a difference of $10 also, it can settle to the open invoice automatically, even though the amounts are not matching. If there is a minute difference of either $10 less or more, it will settle automatically to the invoice. In that case, it will be considered as the overpayment or underpayment. So how such overpayments and underpayment has to be dealt, you can give here maximum overpayment and underpayment, and how that overpayment and underpayment has to be calculated. You can normally what happens is that overpayment and underpayment will be adjusted to cash discount. Suppose if you have an invoice open for 1,000 and if customer paid only 990 and if that is being settled here in the automatic settlement, that $10 difference will be considered as a discount and automatically it will be posted to the discount account when you use this unspecific method. But to use specific method, it will wait for the cash discount is there on the invoice or not. If it is applicable on the invoice or not, it will go for all those options. If there is no such cash discount involved, then I think it will not post that cash discount into this In this, this underpayment or overpayment into the cash discounts normally, or it will not adjust to anything. It will just show them as overpayment and underpayment, which can be adjusted to further transactions later. So prompt for overpayment or underpayment. In case if any settlement involves any overpayment or underpayment, if you want any prompt means warning kind of message, so system will give you that message saying that two transactions are going to be settled which have underpayment or overpayment involved in any of them. So it will give you a warning. Then calculate cash discount for partial payments. We know this one. In case if the payments are partial, like if it is $1,000 invoice with a 10% of discount, if I'm paying only 500, cash discount will not be applicable on that 500. If I'm totally paying 1,000, then only cash discount will be applicable. So if I pay 500 today and another 500 before the cash discount date, then I can claim total 10% of discount on the invoice. But if I'm paying only half, cash discount will not be calculated if this parameter is disabled. But if I enable this parameter, if I'm paying 500 on the invoice of the 1,000 amount pending, so for that 500, 10% discount will be calculated as 50. Later, if I'm paying another 500, for that also another 50 will be calculated separately. So for partial payments also, cash discount will be calculated and adjusted to the cash discount account. So that's what this parameter does. Mostly they will give the cash discounts applicable only when they totally settle the invoice, even though they make partial payments. But when the final payment is done, then only the total discount will be applicable on the final payment. So that kind of process will be normally followed by other clients or most of the clients and they will disable this parameter. Calculate cash discount for credit notes. You can say yes because you might have applied the same cash discount on invoice. If that has to be get reversed, you will apply the same cash discount on the credit notes as well. So it will also get reversed automatically when you post a credit note or settle a credit note. So that's this. Mark lines on free text invoice and interest notes. So I'm not sure about this parameter actually. We select sales tax per invoice line. Checkbox in general ledger parameters form before you can select mark lines on free text invoice and interest notes checkbox. I think this is related to marking specific lines for the tax calculation on invoices. Then you can give some options here. You have this option of how the settlements can be prioritized in case of automatic settlement option is used. So if you enable this one, if you go to manage priority, you have these options how it have to select. Does it have to match along according to the voucher? So what will be the latest voucher? What will be the oldest voucher that will be matched first or that will be settled first? Or you can say transaction amount. If you select voucher means, so if you activate this or transaction amount, you can activate this and ascending order means whatever is the highest amount is there, according to that transaction amount, it will consider. Transaction date. So according to the transaction date, again in the ascending date, starting from the longest waiting transaction date, cash discount date. So whichever the cash discount which is expiring first, so according to that date, transactions will be settled. Or due date. So according to which invoice the due date is falling early, so that will be selected. And you can give the criteria, or you can take it up and down. Means you can move the voucher upwards also, or you can move this one upwards. So saying that, which one has to be prioritized first in sequence. So here only the voucher is being activated, or you can also activate the due date too. And you can say due date should be the first option to be selected. So you say due date here or activate here, so it will get activated here. So according to due date, first whatever is due from a long time, that has to be matched first or that has to be settled first according to your criteria. So that will be here. See, I see only 1 to 10% of the customers using this particular automatic settlements. Only mostly in the retail industry, they will use this automatic settlement option, or they have various different ways to settle the transactions actually. Other than this, normally they don't use this automatic settlement. They'll manually settle each transaction, the payments to the invoices. So this is the option for prioritizing which has to be settled and all. So then we have something related to direct debit specific to one particular country. We have these dates and all details for this direct debit option and credit notes. So this is mostly linked to another module. So where we have this credit note authorization, you can give yes and credit card number, and you can give number of days before expired, estimated freight charges for if you are using this credit note, how much freight can be considered, and then that particular charge type fixed or percentage and all. Then credit card posting. Do you want credit card posting to be posted to a ledger account, or you can give that ledger account of credit card like your bank account, you have a credit card account here. So it's normally an asset account only, or else you can maintain a customer separately or a vendor separately. Some people will also do that. They'll maintain a credit card as a separate vendor account rather than a ledger account. So that's also there. And we have these collections parameters, which are mostly related to credit and collections. So you can give this update collection letter code posting, okay, exclude disputed transactions from fee collections. So you can mark certain transactions as disputed, on which the cases will normally run and there will be follow-ups on them. So those disputed transactions will be left over from fees collection normally. For other transactions which are pending, other than the disputed transaction, we'll collect the fees or interest, we'll charge the interest and all. So that here we have again interest and fees. Interest calculation on open and closed transactions or only on open transactions. I say only on open transactions. Adjustment invoice date, value, interest note date or current system date. So you will go with interest note date normally. Minimum number of days to allow waived interest and fees. Maximum number of days to allow waived interest and fees. So if at all you are charging any interest, so you will also collect that interest from the customer, right? So for that, what is the minimum date and maximum date for waiver of such fees actually, if at all they are not paying? So that's what. Then for write-off, we have given a journal here, which is the common journal or default journal for write-off of the customer payments. Then the reason code, then the bad debts account here we have given this one. Then separate sales tax in case if you are writing off, then you can also include separate sales tax for that write-offs normally. No, for write-offs normally you don't have any sales taxes. You will write off the entire amount, right? Then collections defaults. So you can give an aging period definition like what we have created earlier. Then the team who is collecting it, the collection agents team. So age, customer balances, maximum number of batch tasks. We have that snapshot, right? Which we can use that. Age, customer balances, batch job we have seen in create and collection module. So maximum number of tasks it is showing. If no value specified, 2 batch tasks will be created. So at a maximum of, you can use it one batch job normally. One batch job will be enough, so which will run eventually on daily basis once. And it will update the aged customer balance in that particular menu of credit and collections. So that would be all, guys. We have number sequences remaining all related to rebate program, margin alerts, and these are all related to again supply chain, and warehouse management also mostly fall into supply chain. Number sequences are those we have related to different modules again. So for quotations and all also you can see here only. For customers invoices or related to sales order invoices, vouchers, and the normal customer invoice numbers. Everything will be picked from here. Our free text invoice numbers, free text credit note, free text invoice voucher, and credit note voucher, or packing slip numbers. Everything will be from here itself. So if the client is preferring to have a unique number sequence pattern for each one of these, you will take the pattern design from the client and accordingly you will configure them here in the parameters page. So you will have this default one, which will always give the company name MRF 00001, or depending on the number, it will take some 9 digits up to 9 digits. So if the client plans to have a unique pattern, So you can say that we have these parameters in which these number sequences are filled up. If they want a different pattern, you can go back and change it before they use anything out of it. You can fill all those number sequences with the unique details according to the their required format that they have provided. That's what we have on the customer side. Mostly they will prefer to have the unique number formats. For invoicing process, they have unique for sales order processing. For sales orders, they will prefer unique number pattern. The same way for everything, they will prefer the unique number patterns. So that would be all the important parameters that we have in accounts receivable parameters, mostly related to finance. That would be all. Okay. Do practice accounts receivable well. You will face quite less questions only in accounts receivable, as I would say. But accounts receivable is helpful. So whenever you go for any project, accounts payable and accounts receivable will be the main modules to say. Like they have their own preference because every company have this buying and selling. Business always involves buying and selling. So how they are accommodating their buying and selling activities in accounts payable and accounts receivable module in Dynamics is important, or how we can accommodate or how we can provide solutions to their business activities here is important. When it comes to general ledger module regarding calendars or currencies or chart of accounts, you have all the possible ways or different options, because whatever will be the pattern that they're following, so that everything can be accommodated in general ledger module. Most of them we can be accommodated in account structure or chart of accounts dimensions, everything can be filled in. Coming to accounts payable and accounts receivable, there will be different practices from one business sector to another business sector, one country to another country. So mostly Dynamics will accommodate all those requirements of them, but there will be chances that they might need something additional which Dynamics generally doesn't provide. So in that case, you have to analyze if that is a suitable solution in Dynamics or not, or if there are any gaps. If there is a gap and so, yeah, okay. And what is the achievement or what is their exact requirement and outcome that they're looking for? And you have to plan in such a way that they will achieve that outcome. If at all you develop anything or customize anything also in these modules. Mostly in accounts receivable module, they'll have some kind of integrations. There will be a lot of customer transactions, right, on daily basis. So they don't manually create any sales orders or invoices. So many of them will create other clients, but someone who opt for this integrations. So in this, what happens is there will be an integration or a third party tool which would automatically push the sales orders or invoices into the system, or sales orders can be manually created too. And the invoice, all the details on the sales order or the invoices on the sales orders will be automatically pushed into the system by this integration. So this integration will bring in all those transactions automatically, and that can be posted in a batch job or automated batch job, which we can give for the pending invoices. We have seen that one. So we have that part. So that in that kind of integrations, yeah, you have to understand what is the actual plan and what is that integration is doing. What is the step-by-step process of that integration, from where the data is being collected and where the data is being inserted in various fields, and at what was the final outcome, and is it the actual requirement of the customer, or if the outcome is meeting the actual requirement of the customer or not, that you can analyze. Okay, just integrations means, as I told you, the third party tools that can be integrated to Dynamics, which for a separate cause or for a business flow, for achieving a business flow or an action or a process. A process, you know, right? A process means a steps that involves in completion of a task or in achievement of a task. So in for such kind of things, we have this integration, so some dependency on the third party tools, which would normally be integrated to Dynamics to push the data into Dynamics, or some integrations will extract the data out of Dynamics. They will have some third party tools which would normally pull the data out of Dynamics. In that case, it won't be a trouble. You will link that integration. Normally, the technical team will link that integration to Dynamics, and it will collect all the required data from various fields in Dynamics. and you don't work on those third-party tools. But in case if it is pushing data into the Dynamics, or Dynamics is importing the data from the third-party tool, then you should be concerned of what data it is importing and into which fields it is inserting that data that it has imported. So that plan has to be understood when you work on any new thing which is out of box or which is a development or customization or integration into Dynamics. Any doubts, guys, on this one? We'll take a separate session maybe after end of the course, so to discuss on this part for all of you. I'll also give you a brief view on how projects will be dealt or different steps that you need to keep in mind and all. So we'll discuss that. So other than that, we can go to this module, tax or sales tax. I'll just give you a brief introduction about this module, what is tax and how it can be employed in Dynamics and where it comes into picture in various business activities. So what is a tax? Anyone? What is actually a tax and how it's related to business?
It is an obligation to be paid to the government.
It is an obligation, okay. So tax is a obligation or obliged fee that is levied by the government or any authority that is handled by the government on the businesses that you do or on the trade that you do in your business, right? So what kind of taxes we have in India, at least? What kind of different taxes we have in India?
GST.
Yeah, we have GST, goods and services tax, right? Yes, and
VAT.
Income tax, wealth tax.
okay, we have income tax, wealth tax. VAT was not there. VAT was there earlier, but now it is not there. VAT is being demolished and being included into GST, or new tax policy was brought in India. Yeah, we have VAT in other countries. Yeah, we'll discuss that too. In India, we have GST. We have withholding taxes. Withholding taxes means TDS and TCS. Tax deducted at source. Income tax to fall under TDS, right? And we also have TCS, tax collected at source. So there are other different taxes. So if I would say in India, we have GST, TDS, TCS. GST is the most paid tax or levied tax on different transactions that you do or trade that you do in business. TDS and TCS are something that are charged on special categories, like kind of services provided on income or on the wealth, or if you buy any other goods like luxury goods, you have this TCS, I think, tax collected at source. Coming to Middle East countries, we mostly have VAT and other withholding taxes. Withholding taxes are nothing but TDS and TCS only, kind of the same, collected at source taxes. So VAT is normally kind of sales tax. Okay, we have VAT and sales taxes. So in Europe also mostly we'll have VAT and withholding taxes. Coming to US, you have different tax system again. Federal taxes you have, US and Canada, you have federal taxes, state taxes, then you have provinces in. So in US and Canada, you have provinces. So province tax you have. Then you will have municipal taxes, if any. So we have various taxes. So the tax pattern really have different or unique structure from country to country. It always changes from one country to another country. So if the clients, all the companies are located in a single country, so mostly they will follow a single tax pattern. If they are located in different countries, so you might have to configure different tax patterns or tax structures. So it's not compulsory that you should have a good understanding on all the tax procedures in different countries. But when you go for implementation, it's better that you better go through the overview of the how taxes are calculated and settled on in that particular country. Once if you have to implement, so if it have to implement it, normally have the same steps. In Dynamics, for implementing any tax, you have the same steps, but for some other taxes, you will have additional features. That's all. Additional parameters or additional features will be available for other taxes, but mostly the configuration is same for any of the taxes. For GST or any sales taxes, VAT or federal taxes, the configuration is same. For withholding taxes, we have a separate configuration. So as I told you, we have separated sales tax and withholding taxes. So we have two different configurations in any country. Almost it is same, but it slightly changes. They will have additional features depending upon the localization of that particular country. Localization features are what we call. So in Germany, it is different. In Poland, it is different. So again, in other European countries, it depends on the country to country again. Some will have the unique pattern or same pattern. Some have unique patterns. Just like in India, we have GST, TDS and TCS. In other countries, we don't have TDS and TCS. They have different names and different other calculations and rates and all. Okay. So what we have to understand in Dynamics is how the tax module works firstly. What are the different configurations we have and different process activities we have in taxes. So how taxes applied on various modules will be calculated and presented in the tax module in Dynamics. How we can extract the reports out of this tax module in Dynamics. How tax can be settled at the end of a period, maybe like a month or maybe a quarter or a year or half year. So how it can be settled and how the delta amount can be calculated, how this creates a transaction for the authority to pay tax amount or to receive tax amount as a reimbursement. So all these details will be there in tax module. So we will discuss all these things, how we configure it and how we apply taxes on different transactions like in purchase orders or normal vendor invoice journals or fixed text invoices on sales order. Again, we'll do some transactions, see how taxes are calculated. At the end of the period, we'll try to settle them. So for that, we might need to undergo some configurations, which we have to discuss further. So we'll also discuss them. And one of the important understanding that you have to learn is tax direction. Does anybody have any idea about what is tax direction or how many directions we have in tax?
No.
So there are two directions in tax. One is tax payable. Another one is tax receivable. So now anybody have any idea on what is tax payable and what is tax receivable? Or who will pay us the tax, or to whom we will pay the tax, or from whom we will receive the tax?
Tax will be paid on a purchases
Okay.
and tax will be received on sales.
So tax will be paid, or we from our business side will pay taxes to the vendors. Whoever sold the goods to us, we will pay taxes to the vendors, and we will collect the taxes from the customers, whoever do trade from us or who will buy goods from us. Right? That's what you meant to say.
Yeah.
Enough. So remember this one, sales tax payable is always related to sales or accounts receivable module. Sales tax receivable is always related to purchases or accounts payable module. So how sales tax receivable is related to purchases module? See, suppose I'm doing it I am purchasing some goods from vendor. Okay, so the goods value is 1000. Okay, there is a tax on the goods like 10% tax, which is 100. Okay, so what is the total value of the trade now? 700. 1000 for the original goods and 100 is the additional tax upon it, which is also called as sales tax. Okay, so total amount is 1100. Now if I have to pay to this vendor, how much amount I have to pay on this trade? Come on guys, it's a question for you. If I have to pay the vendor for full settlement of the invoice, how much I have to pay him?
1100.
Yes, we have to pay 1100, payment of 1100. So what vendor will do is he will keep his 1000 with him and he have to pay that $100 he have collected from me to the tax authority. So he'll pay that collected $100 to the tax authority. This is how it is. So here why I call this as tax receivable is because I paid tax here to the vendor on this payment transaction. I paid tax, right? So if I paid tax means I am liable or I am ought to receive it from the tax authority. So I call it as tax receivable on the purchases. So on whenever I do a purchase transaction, it will be tax receivable. So if I have to enter that or make that particular transaction here, see. If at all I buy some inventory from the vendor, so this is how the entry will be like. So inventory account will be debited or credited when I buy anything from a vendor.
Inventory account will be debited.
So it will be debited for 1000 because inventory amount is 1000. Okay. Tax receivable will be credited. Sorry. It's debited again for 100. And finally, the vendor or accounts payable account will be credited for 1100. So this will be the entry when we apply any sales taxes on the purchase invoice. So in place of inventory, you can sometimes see the expense account if it is a normal invoice journal rather than a sales order invoice. Okay, so receivable indicates it's an asset. Tax receivable is always an asset, or anything that is receivable is an asset. So it is debited here, as you can see. Inventory will be debited for 1000, tax receivable will be debited for 100, and vendor will be credited for 1100. So normally you don't capitalize your taxes, right? I mean, you don't really add the taxes onto the inventory. So it will be accounted separately and vendor account will be credited with 1100 and you have to pay to the vendor 1100 rupees on full settlement of the invoice, out of which 100 is a tax and 1000 is the original inventory amount. So this is how the entry is. Now if I want to, this is a purchase entry with tax. Now if I have to create the same kind of sales entry with tax, so what will be the entry? Any guess? Anyone?
Customer account debit.
So customer or the accounts receivable account will be debited always. Okay, we'll go with the balances later. So tell me the entry. What next? What happens to the inventory or the revenue? Anything? Let's forget about the inventory or discuss about revenue. So what happens to the revenue account?
Revenue will be credited.
Okay, sales revenue will be credited. Sorry, credited. And where will be the tax account? It will be credited or
Tax
debited?
payable, credited.
Tax payable will be credited. So customer account will be debited with $1100, out of which your revenue is only $1000 and you will collect 100, right? So that is a tax payable. You have to pay it to the tax authority. That is why you'll record it as a liability. You will receive it from the customer, but you are liable to pay it to the tax authority. You will collect and pay it to the tax authority. So you will record it as a tax payable here. So this will be the usual entry when you post any sales invoice with tax involved. Clear for all of you, or any confusion in these two entries? Let me know.
No.
So Sheila, Saideep.
Yeah, understood.
Clear, JP.
Okay, so this is what called as sales tax direction. So tax direction or sales tax direction, anything. In Dynamics, normally tax is called as sales tax. Okay, you wherever you see, you normally see sales tax. Or if it is a European legal entity, you see VAT payable, VAT tax payable, VAT tax receivable, like that. Or normally you see sales tax payable, sales tax receivable. Okay, but in Indian company, you don't see GST payable, GST receivable. Doesn't really show up. It normally shows as sales tax payable and sales tax receivable. Okay, so these are the two directions we have in sales tax. And we have one more feature, or sorry, one particular parameter, so which normally appear in different places at journal header level, journal name level, and also in sales order header level. I mean, purchase order header level, we have this amount include sales tax. So any idea on this? I told you, I think, what amount include sales tax does. Anyone?
Amount includes sales tax becomes the
Percentage of sales order includes the tax value as well.
So the base amount, so amount includes sales tax is a functionality. If at all it is yes or no. Yes or no. Okay. Let me say amount does not include sales tax, or if it is a no means how it will be. So the base amount is, let's assume 1000. Okay. So upon the base amount, so since the amount is not included, amount does not include sales tax. Sales tax will be calculated upon the base amount. So tax amount is 10%, which means 10% on 1000 is 100, which is equal to 1100, or the total amount will be the 1100. Base amount will be 1000, tax amount will be 100. Total it will be 1100 when the amount does not include the sales tax. But there is a scenario where amount includes sales tax. Means base amount is 1000. Okay, let's say 1000 for now. So the tax will be included in this base amount itself, or within this 1000 only tax will be there, something like 90 or 95, something like that. So what will be 10% inclusive tax? So we have a formula for calculating it. 10% inclusive tax. What was that
110
for?
by 100.
Into 100 by 90.
Into 100 by 90. Is it so?
Yeah.
It's
That's
into
correct.
110.
110 by 100.
I think it should be into 110 by 100. Let's see. Let me go to calculator. Okay. 1000 into 110, or 1000 into 100 divided by 110. What it is? So it's not like this.
100 by 90 is the but.
No. 100 by 90, right? What you said?
Yes, JP. 100 by 90.
1000 into 90 divided by 100. This is 900. This is also not correct.
1000 into 90 by 100.
1000 into 90 divided by 100. This is 90. So this is also not correct. So there
So
is
you need 1000 into 10%, right? Inclusive.
Yeah, it should be inclusive.
Oh, it's 1000
it
into
is-
110%. Simple.
No.
So it is equal to 110%.
No.
Ah, 1000 and
This
110%.
1000, this no, 1 second. This 1000 is equal to 110%. So it is into 100 divided by 110. So it is like this. So 909 will be the base amount. So whatever will be the remaining, that will be the tax amount included in this 1000. Okay, this 1000 is there, right? So this is, according to me, 100 plus 10%. So 110% this is. 100 plus 10%. 100% will be the base amount and 10% tax is also included in it, which is totally 110%. Out of which I want only the exact base amount. Exact base amount means exclusive of tax. So here is how I can calculate it. Into 100 divided by 110. So 909.09 something I have here. So that will be the exact base amount, as I would say here, 909.09. So the remaining amount minusing out of which I can deduct the 1000 amount. So I'll just show you. So this will be the tax amount, right? So this should not be the tax amount. It's showing so 1 second. 1000 minus 909.09. 90.91 is the tax. So plus 90.91. This is how it is. So the calculation is like this, guys. 1000 into 100 divided by 110. Okay. So here the base amount will be 909.09. Tax amount will be 90.91, and combining both of them will become 1000, where which in the amount includes sales tax formula. So the total amount will be 1000, out of which the inventory amount will be 909.09 and the tax amount will be 90.91. So whereas it comes to amount does not include sales tax, you see it is calculated upon the base amount 1000 plus 100. And here tax amount is included within the 1000, which is how this is how it will be calculated and posted to various accounts. So the tax account, this amount will be posted. To the inventory account or the expense account, this amount will be posted. So this is how the difference is. So there are certain countries which normally follow this tax include sales tax all the time. They have this inclusive sales tax. Mostly in Middle East, they'll follow inclusive sales tax option. In Europe also, many countries will follow inclusive sales tax. So in India, they follow tax calculate upon the base amount actually. Isn't that? So mostly they'll calculate GST, CGST and SGST upon the base amount of the tax as a base amount of the invoice. So that's how it is. I hope this is clear for you until here. So there were certain basic configuration that we have to do. Sales tax authority will be the first setup. Then sales ledger posting groups or ledgers, sales tax settlement periods. Next, ledger posting groups. Next, sales tax codes. Next, tax groups. Item sales tax groups. So these are the list of configurations we have to do. And then later we have process activities to do. So first we will configure all these things and we'll get back to the how they are used or how the configurations will be effective. So tomorrow we'll work on these configurations. Mostly it's all small configurations only. Mostly be completed in a day, or we'll discuss how much ever we can to until tomorrow, and day after tomorrow we'll discuss the remaining. Okay, so that would be all, guys. If you have any doubts, you can stay back and ask. You can drop off. Good night. I'll just stop.